This isn't a video that I want to make, nor do I think a lot of Bulls fans want this video to be made. But at the end of the day, it is a big story. It's a significant story. Lonzo Ball is having surgery again on his left knee. He is going to be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel, where we talk about the Lonzo Ball injury update, which at least for me as a Bulls fan and keeping up with this whole story, I was not shocked at all to see that Ball was going to head for surgery again. I don't know about you guys, but I was keeping tabs on this throughout the offseason, as I'm sure all you Bulls fans were, and I kind of thought we were heading back to this sort of situation. That Ball needed another surgery, especially when we got the update in July from AK and Billy Donovan that he's progressive and not progressing how they would like. And once you hear that, that's just never a good sign. So unfortunately, Lonzo Ball is going to go under the scope again. He's going to get surgery on September 28th, and then he's going to be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. I want to break this all down, talk about a few things. Talk about obviously, where the Bulls are going to be missing Lonzo for at the very least 13 games. I'm going to say more than that to start the season. But before we get into it, I'll make sure to hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. All right, Lonzo Ball, yet again, another injury. It just seems like this is the case with Lonzo Ball, and it sucks. But I think this is kind of the writing on the wall, and I think everyone knew it from the start. So to talk about first off the reevaluation in 4 to 6 weeks and like the whole timeline of this and just this news coming out. First off, we saw earlier in this month ESPN's Ramona Shelburne and Jamal Collier. I can never pronounce the name right, but I made a video on this that they already came out with an article saying that Lonzo Ball is probably not going to be ready for training camp and will most likely miss the start of the regular season. We did not know much after that, but just knowing that he wasn't going to be ready to go through training camp and start the season. So at that point, I think everyone kind of knew, like, okay, this is still pretty bad. It's really not getting much better. But we just have to hope that he gets better as things move along, and hopefully he'll turn a corner. And clearly, he did not turn a corner. So now the Bulls and Ball's camp decided to go through another surgery. If you, I don't know exactly what this surgery is, but according to Rob Schaefer, Ball's going to get removal of damaged tissue or foreign objects from the wound. So obviously, Ball tore his meniscus as a bone bruise. He's going to get stuff removed from that area in this surgery. So now let's talk about the reevaluation and the timeline here. Part of me is happy that there is a timeline and it's not just like we're kind of sitting here like, so what's going to happen next? Or we're not just going to sit here in the dark thinking, crap, like, is he ever going to get healthy? Like, is this ever going to get resolved? Does he actually need to go get another surgery? Well, we got an answer to the question of does he need another surgery? At least we have the timeline now, but here I do have a little, I am concerned. I'll say that. So just think about this for a second. Reevaluation 4 to 6 weeks. He is getting this surgery next week on September 28th. So in 4 weeks, we're already in the season. Okay. So at bare minimum, he is just finishing his recovery, and we're already at the end of October. All right. 6 weeks in, that means we're at the beginning of November. So we're already, on our way through the season when Ball is just finishing recovering. And in my opinion, I think he's going to take longer than the 6 weeks to finish recovering. And this is not even talking about the rehabbing process, right? We're talking about just straight up that he is just about to get into the rehabbing process of this all. So automatically, I'm thinking this isn't good because we're looking at already season starts middle of October. I think we're looking at potentially the end of November, where Ball is officially going to start ramping things up again and starting his rehab process. Now, other thing to consider is this: Ball hasn't been in playing shape since last January. Obviously, he missed the rest of the season. He went and got surgery in January, missed the rest of the season, and obviously hasn't played any sort of NBA level basketball for a long time. That's the part that really concerns me, because that part alone to me tells me that this rehabbing process is going to take a long time. I won't be shocked if this rehabbing process takes a whole month. And I'm talking about after he's finished recovering from this surgery, after the reevaluation. I think it's going to be probably another month until we see Lonzo Ball after his reevaluation and he gets clear to go to start his rehabbing process. That's the part that's really scary to me about this. We see the 4 to 6 weeks. It's like, okay, cool, 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to hopefully get some positive news. This is just a reevaluation. I don't think it's going to be positive news in 4 to 6 weeks, honestly. And with Ball's track record, it really doesn't make me feel too good. I think that we're going to get the good reevaluation in November, like end of November, and then he's going to be ramping it up all through December. I said in my last video about Lonzo's injury that I think he'll be back in January. I think that's what we're looking at, honestly, with Lonzo Ball, and I'll tell you why. According to Sports Injury Central, this is a Twitter account that goes and talks about the injuries in sports. Uh, this was something that they talked about, or something that they covered, was the Lonzo Ball injury. And according to them, just read this out here. Obviously, Lonzo's a bone bruise, and in his surgery, when there's a meniscus tear, you have to be careful with the cartilage in the knee. Now, what was interesting to read about this is I actually think the Bulls and their medical staff, they actually probably wanted Lonzo to get another surgery pretty quickly. So Lonzo had surgery in January. I wouldn't be shocked if this Bulls medical staff was saying after the season ended in April, like, we want you to get another surgery because the fact that you didn't come back this season is already scary. We think that there's already another issue going on. But if you look at what this doctor is saying, he's saying that for Ball's camp, it's probably in their best interest to make sure that Lonzo doesn't go for another surgery. And I understand completely why, because surgery is hard on the body. And you have to understand that these guys, like, yes, they look like superhuman out on the court, but they're still human at the end of the day. And so going from a January surgery to then getting like a 3 month surgery after that, or like a 4 month surgery, or sorry, 4 months in between each surgery, that's tough on the body. And Ball's camp, I think, clearly was saying, like, we do not want Lonzo Ball to go under and get surgery again because that's going to kill his body. And after probably talking with the officials, and now that Lonzo is back in Chicago, they decided to go for another surgery again. But I think everyone in their head had it flipped. A lot of people were saying, "Man, this Bulls training staff is so goddamn awful. Why aren't we firing them right now? They didn't do a good job with this. This is all their fault. They should have gotten this done sooner." I actually think it's the flip. I think the Bulls camp, especially what AK and Billy Donovan said in July during the summer league when they said Ball's progressing but not progressing as fast as we would like. I think they wanted Lonzo to go get a surgery very quickly, but Ball's camp was like, no, we don't want Lonzo to get the surgery. So keep that in mind when it comes to this type of stuff of why they decided to get the surgery now and not, at the beginning of the offseason. So keep this in mind about all this stuff. Now, obviously, this is a gut punch. This is a huge gut punch for the Bulls. Go ahead and read this article on NBC Sports Chicago by Casey Johns. He does a pretty good job of breaking it down. And one of the things that I did see also on Twitter is that the Bulls, their first couple of weeks is a pretty rough stretch. So obviously we're going to be missing one of our top 5 players during this stretch. So it's going to be on the rest of the players to step up. My main concern about this whole thing is Lonzo's 3-point shot, because the Bulls desperately need Lonzo's 3-point shooting. He's one of the best 3-point shooters on the roster. It's very evident. And the Bulls obviously were dead last in 3-point attempts last season. So Lonzo's 3-point shot is incredibly valuable to this team. Now, for the other stuff that Lonzo brings, his transition play, his good defense, and his passing, I think that can be made up with the guys in the roster, specifically looking at Ayo Dosunmu and Alex Caruso to bring the defense. I think Ayo can bring his passing, and I also think Ayo Dosunmu is going to be a big part of the Bulls getting back to that transition identity that they had early in the season. But no one can make up for Lonzo's 3-point shooting. Nobody. Even Goran Dragic, who has been a pretty decent shooter in his career, I don't see him making up for Lonzo's 3-point shooting. That just is something that the Bulls are going to have to basically weather the storm with as they wait for Lonzo to get back. And again, I'm saying that I think Lonzo's probably going to be out until 2023. I don't see him coming back in November or December. I really don't. So the Bulls are going to have to take a long time to weather the storm and wait for Lonzo to get back here. Let's also talk about this, though. Just because Lonzo is out, and yes, Lonzo is a huge part of this team, he should not be the sole reason for this team's success. Obviously, this Bulls team has 2 all-stars on it with LaVine and DeRozan. Obviously, Vucevic is a well-known vet, and I know people had a lot of issues with Vucevic last season, but Lonzo himself should not decide whether this team's a 1 seed or an 8 seed or a 1 seed or a 10 seed, right? this team should still be a winning team without Lonzo Ball. And what we saw last season when, obviously a bunch of injuries went down, a lot of people started saying, oh, it's because Lonzo's out. Well, when Lonzo missed the second half of the season, Caruso also missed 30 or 27 games. Levine was also injured. Javonte Green was also injured. Like, this Bulls team was basically completely decimated. So I think we need to keep in mind that this isn't the end of the world for this Bulls team. It's an absolute gut punch for this Bulls team. But it is not the end of the world. This Bulls team should still be a good team, even without Lonzo Ball starting for them every single game. So it is something that the Bulls have to weather. This is something that Billy Donovan has always talked about when they face adversity, they have to get through it. Well, it's starting now, and this entire season, I guarantee you, is going to be full of adversity because this Bulls team had a successful season last season. You have to build off of it now. So it's going to be a season full of adversity. Last thing to wrap up this video, just to end on this on a positive note. I personally think that Ayo Dosunmu is going to have a phenomenal season. All right. I personally would start him in at the point guard position while Lonzo is out. When Lonzo does come back, or I say if he comes back, I would have Lonzo still take over at the starting position. But I think Ayo Dosunmu is going to shock a lot of people this season. I personally would start him. I think he fits best in the starting lineup due to his defense and his ability to create shots for others and for himself. I think that's the best option to start him with that starting unit. I want to keep Caruso to the bench because I think Caruso plays very aggressively and was going to be falling a lot, and I want to limit his minutes because obviously, missing Caruso for 40 games really hurt the Bulls last season. So I think Ayo is the best option to start, but I won't be shocked if Billy Donovan starts either Caruso or Dragic. But personally, I think Ayo should start. But whether Ayo starts or doesn't, I do think Ayo's going to have a really good season. A lot of people are saying, sophomore slump. I don't really see that happening personally. I think Ayo's really built up his body so he can withstand the NBA season. I know a lot of reports are saying like he's had a great offseason. Then, people are saying, well, that's just reporting, right? But I do think Ayo has that drive to get better. And I do think whether he's starting or coming off the bench, is going to shock a lot of people. And I do think it's going to actually make the Bulls have to make a really critical decision upcoming soon about the point guard position, honestly. Ayo is up for a new contract after this season. I already made a video on that. Go check that out after this video. But in this Twitter thread, follow me on Twitter, Duncan_White14. I made a whole thread about Ayo Dosunmu, about how I think he can help weather this storm while Lonzo Ball is not going to be with this team. I showed you in this thread, I put in a lot of videos that I show Ayo Dosunmu's decision making and creating off the dribble. I showed his pick and roll potential and how he actually was pretty good in the pick and roll last season, just didn't get a lot of opportunities to run it as the main ball handler. And then I talked about one thing that I think is going to be a make or break thing for this Bulls season success, which is the fast break opportunities. This Bulls team needs to get back out to being that fast break team, running and gunning, and constantly looking to go play downhill. I think Ayo is going to play a huge part in that. I broke that down as well. I talked about Ayo Dosunmu's phenomenal defense. He was a top 5 point of attack defender last season. So was Lonzo Ball, but you see the Bulls have 3 guys in the top 5. So I do think that even though Lonzo's defense is significant, even though he's out, I still think this Bulls team can still get back to the defensive identity that we saw last season. Last but not least, I talked about Ayo's defense, broke down how good of a defender he is and stuff like that. But without Lonzo, everyone has to step up. And even if Lonzo was here, these guys like Ayo, guys like Patrick Williams, guys like Javonte Green need to step up for this team to keep going towards the right direction. So I think Ayo's going to have a great season, and I can't wait to see Ayo get out there on the court. I can't wait for Bulls basketball, man. I know this Lonzo Ball injury news sucks, but I was also kind of expecting this. So this isn't like, shot out of the blue. But I think that either way, you should be excited for this Bulls team because this was a successful season last season. Now let's move forward and continue on that success. But that's all I have for you guys in this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.